Yes, how you doing today? This is Ezekiel
and Sarah,
and we're here today with another episode of Marriage Matters Live. Yes, how you guys doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, those of you who've been in the chat waiting for the stream to start. So glad to be here with you guys today. We've got another corker. This one's an interesting one. To be honest with you, I know there is a lot of how do we call it?
A lot of what, babe?
Imbalance. There's a lot of
wow.
I think this might dredge up a little bit of trauma for some people. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
not really. I don't know.
Yes. So look, if you're in a live stream, just chuck a message in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching this after the fact, just add something in the comments. Add a comment in the box and let us know where you're watching this from and what you think about this content.
Hey, babe.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You looking alright today still?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the juice. What are we talking about today?
Gender roles in marriage. Say it again.
Gender roles in marriage. Yeah, super interesting topic. I think super interesting topic.
Yeah.
The reason I like this is because when you look at marriage, you take a slice of time.
Yeah.
I think immediately. And it's time and culture really, but immediately I think you have a view of what the roles in marriage look like. It's super interesting. So if you were to take a snapshot, let's just go back about 60 years, and you said maybe here.
That's kind of like what I was kind of thinking, like 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. You take a snapshot, you look back here like 60 years from today, and you ask people that you see walking on the street, what's the role of a man, what's the role of a woman in marriage? They'd have a view of that, basically. And then again, depending on the culture, maybe so the environment you're in, the continent you are on, that would really dictate and determine the view of marriage. And you guys know this, massively an advocate of ensuring that yourself and your spouse, or yourself and your would-be spouse, in that you're courting, I'm talking about, are kind of looking at life through the same lens, considering a similar worldview, because that helps, especially in the kind of nuts and bolts that we're talking about today, gender roles, the role of one individual versus another, what's my responsibility, those things are massively, massively important. So yeah, I think if you take a snapshot of over time and culture, you really get a picture of what someone's agreeable or disagreeable role in marriage is.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree that? She agrees. Right, show's over. See you guys later.
For me, yeah. Obviously, it wasn't so clear cut when we got together, in a sense, because obviously I had my own opinion, my own way of looking at things. Again, obviously, then there's like upbringing, what you see,
massively important.
The type of people that you're around, what gender role looked like in the home. And what it didn't look like in the home. Yeah. But then again, obviously, you do have a lot of people that are coming from single parent background, whether that's just a mother at home or just a father at home. Not everyone even has the opportunity to even grow up in the environment where they're able to see these gender roles taking place.
Come on.
You know, you get mums playing mums, dads, grandparents, everything to the child. Yeah. Uncle, auntie, all at the same time. Friend, best friend, teacher, whatever it may be.
I'm with you.
And then you have children who grow up seeing mum working, being at home, cooking, hustling, opening shop, whatever it may be. And then you have, and then you've got the dad again working full time, just being there doing what he possibly can. Yeah. And then you've got the straight up spectrum where mum's at home, does all the housework, looks after the kids, and dad brings in the bacon, as they say.
Look, if this is your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. This is Marriage Matters. In this playlist, we constantly bring you those juicy conversations about marriage to help you enrich, strengthen, and empower your marriage for growth.
Yes.
Look, so I agree with you totally. Totally agree with what you're saying. I feel as though it's not just experiential in that sense. We do have that, and I think that today, like you were saying just a moment ago, we do have those differences based on our experience. Yeah. However, I guess we can pin the three together. Let's say experience, culture, and then time. And I think time really kind of matches the kind of culture piece, basically. So really, I think it's a cultural thing. And one of the things that really stand out to me in this as a Christian man. Let's just, I'll be straight talking with you guys. You know what time it is. As a Christian man, the thing that stands out to me is that when we talk about gender roles, these are constructs, social constructs defined by the environment. Because what I'm really interested in as a Christian man is what is the role of a woman, what is the role of a man in marriage. You understand? And this is why 2 minutes back I was saying to you guys, look, it's important for you to ensure that both of you are on the same page in terms of your worldview. Because if you're not, this causes issues. This causes issues for the two of you in that you're unable to find a balance, an agreeable level plane for you to kind of take things forward from. And I think that's a challenge. I think that's a major challenge that causes more and more issues as the relationship begins to unfold. Basically, that's the way I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, let's talk about what role does society as a whole, what role should society as a whole have in determining the way your marriage functions?
Well, for me, straight away, the minute I hear you say that, I'm already concluding that society has changed so drastically. Yeah. Things have changed so much that, now it's kind of like anything goes. Yeah. You just do what you want to do in your marriage and make it work whichever way suits you, in a sense. And a lot of people are happy to take that stance. A lot of people are happy to take the stance of, okay, these are your strengths, these are my weaknesses, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, your strengths. Yeah, I got you. And then, they enter into the marriage and they just work on that. You get some, you get some homes where the dad actually does a lot of the babysitting, a lot of the baby caring in a sense, because some children just naturally gravitate to their dad, even though mum's the one feeding them and doing all that kind of stuff. Some babies still naturally gravitate to the dad, so dad will do maybe the nappy changing and the putting to sleep and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Whereas back in the day, that's like, dads don't do that. Yeah. Dads go to work, bring in the money, come home, eat, have a conversation over the dinner table, read papers, watch TV, go to bed, then it's the next day kind of thing. Society has drastically changed to the point that even men have come to the place where they're like, you know what, I don't mind changing a nappy. I don't mind making a bottle. I don't mind rocking the baby to sleep. So, for me, it's as much as it's still within the individual relationships, people do things based on how they are operating and moving in society. Because even now, I'm sure like a lot of people having conversations, might feel uncomfortable when they're having, let's say men are having dad talk or something, and they all, and one's just like, yeah, I don't do nothing. My wife does all of that. Like these days, other fathers were looking like, what do you mean? Like, do you not help your wife? Do you not do this? So I even feel like it's even getting to an uncomfortable place in society to just be this, to be in that extremely masculine roles from back in the day, if you get what I'm trying to say.
But this is my thing, it's like, so are we talking about, so you categorize that masculine, that hyper masculinity as a person who doesn't help change the baby's nappy?
No, I'm just giving that as an example. Because okay, so like now, if a dad was to come and be like, he's a stay-at-home dad, the wife has the kids, she goes back to work 6 months later and he just looks after the children, she brings in the money, he cleans the house and all that kind of stuff, he's going to be looked at with, it doesn't matter whether we're in 1950 or if we're in 2021. It's still going to be like, what do you mean you're a stay-at-home dad kind of thing. So what I'm saying is I still feel like it, again, it's down to how society, no matter how much we try to say, okay, this is our marriage, we're going to do what we feel right, a lot of people are still going to be playing on how society sees them and how they see society.
Absolutely. But okay, I guess the question really is, should we be moved by the environmental pressures that are posed to our marriage, and should we be defining our marriage based on those same pressures? So should we define it, and should we be kind of moved, like making those adjustments? So for example, this dad you're talking about, should he start looking for a job now because his mates or his community is like, oh yeah, he's a bum, all he does is stay at home and look after the kids, and sends his wife out to work?
Well, one thing, he's definitely not a bum.
100%. Definitely not a bum. I agree, 100%.
Because that's like saying a mum who stays at home is a bum. Oh, but she ain't. Hello. So it doesn't, for one to even say that to a man who's staying at home to look after his children, that is That's just.
But
that's
you're
just wrong.
You're talking about that sideways look, and that's what I'm saying. That course. Sideways look is maybe someone not openly saying it, but feeling that way.
I mean, but you know what? The funniest thing is, I still feel like any man who stays at home to be a full-time dad is doing an extremely difficult job, because I know what it's like being a mum.
Of course.
Looking after children full time, you know, and it's kind of not really. I don't know if I'm gonna say it's not really in a man's nature, in a sense, to play that role. Yeah. So it's something that it's like a whole shift for a guy, you know. So it is. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot on this one.
Let's go.
Because
listen.
I've got a lot on this one.
We need to hear your view. If I start talking, I want people to be like, yeah, you know. So let's hear your view. You're talking about those people who have the term, like you're talking about this nature, this natural in your makeup way of being versus doing the alternative for whatever reason. My first question is, why is Madame out at work and Sir is at home? Like, why is Ma and Sa making that split like that? Do you know what I'm saying? This is a question, and I'm not saying it's wrong. Yeah. I'm not saying it's wrong. My question is, why is it that way? And people, we've become a very accommodating society today. Yeah, we have. In that this is cool. Yeah. What I want to know is it really okay?
For what?
She says for what? Is it really okay for him to take on that role and not feel the pressure of people saying to him, you should go and get a job, mate?
Well, the funniest thing is, I would say it is okay because he knows what he's doing for his family. And he's, to be honest, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's, you win some, you lose some.
What does that mean? In context, what we're talking about?
In the sense that a man can stay at home, raise his children, and have a very good family dynamic. Yep. Strong children, well grounded, good education, well really respectful, whatever.
They were trained by their dad, why not?
You know, and then later on, he might then want to say, okay, you know, this child is now, the youngest is now 5 or 6. Yeah. Let me now go back to work, kind of thing. So it's not that, you know, he's just gonna, some of these men just sit at home forever. Yeah. I know, I mean, I'm sure everyone's probably like, Sarah, I thought you were talking about women at home. But then the funniest thing is, a lot of people don't understand that even though that is, you know, a lot of women stay at home, men stay at home too. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing. So even though the whole gender role thing is traditional, men go to work, women stay home or work part-time and mainly run the household, we are in a society now where, you know, a lot of people are doing what is best for them. Yeah. It's not about what society thinks anymore. It's about what's best for us. Because if it was always about what society thinks, no man would stay home. Every man would try and get a job or whatever, you know, most decent men anyway, will try and get a job, work, bring in the money.
Said most decent men. So,
as in, okay, oh my gosh, like, no disrespect, I'm not disrespecting anyone, but when I say like most decent men, as in you do have some men who just don't want to work, and they don't want to help,
and they don't want to help at home with the child, and they just want to I'm just really qualified. So
you know, it's the average, you know, dad or guy or whatever, or husband. So for me, I really feel like people are in that space now where it's like they sit down and they say, okay, what works best? You know, some people have decided to not send their children to school. So, you know, there won't, a lot of the times it's not to sacrifice the person who's earning the most. It might be whoever's earning the least gets to stay at home while the person earning the most gets to go to work. Yeah. So it could be the mum might be a higher earner, so the dad gets to stay at home, or vice versa. So for me, you know, the whole gender role thing, I feel like it's getting to a place now where couples have to really discuss with each other what's what. Yeah. You know, to be fair, gone are the days where women do just stay at home and raise their children and wear, you know, aprons and red lipstick and walk around in high heels. Gone are the days, do you know what I'm saying? But we're more
like a stereotype.
Well, that was, but you know, we're now in the era where women sometimes don't even have the choice to stay at home. Yeah. Do you understand? So I feel like society, times have pushed gender roles to change. You know, things are so much more expensive now. You know, everybody wants to buy a house or, you know, look decent or whatever it may be. So people are putting pressure on themselves to achieve certain things. Hence, mum can't stay at home because we need 2 incomes.
I think those societal pressures have many different faces. One you're talking about now, that kind of fiscal pressure that you want to kind of keep up with the Joneses. The flip side of that is, okay, where society wants to define your house, define your rules and your structure for you. And people, we make this point on the regular. This is why it's important for us as a couple, as for you guys as marriages, couples, those aspiring couples, to really clearly define your road and stay on your track. This is really, really important because if we don't do that, we then become susceptible to kind of every wind of change in the world today.
That's right.
All right. So look, these roles in gender are a kind of societal construct. Maybe whatever.
Are they really though? Society constructs.
So if.
Because when did it start?
Let's dial back before we get. I don't know if we should get into that. Let's dial back a little bit. So my point earlier on was, as a Christian man, as a believing man, as a man of faith, my focus is really what is the structure I should be following or I'm instructed to. And immediately, when you talk about Christian gender roles or you talk about being a Christian man in your view, people automatically default to you being this chauvinistic individual. I think I made a point, maybe it was on this channel previously. I was talking to a colleague previously and she was just like, you know, there's the patriarchy, but what about the matriarchy? And we kind of go into this conversation where it's like there is a group of people that are feeling marginalized, feeling like kind of, you know, displaced in society, when in actuality, is that really the case? And my thing is this, straight to, like, how many steering wheels does a car have? Like, let's just be legit. Do you know what I mean? And I think if we can use that as a model, all right, in a plane, and maybe an airplanes are better. Maybe an airplanes are better. Better example. You've got a pilot and you have a co-pilot, essentially, right?
That's right.
And I think it's important for us to kind of use these models to really be clear. If the pilot and the co-pilot are at odds with each other, there's going to be a massive difficulty in terms of identifying where they're going, who's changing baby's nappy, who's focused on going to the shops. Like, all of those things become a massive issue. And obviously, you raise a really good point in that a lot of people have found a way to just kind of get on with things and maneuver around
their marriage.
What could be some kind of like red tape, you know, just the kind of the formalities of it. And in turn help overcome those societal pressures. But my thing is, when we really look into the scriptures, what do we see there in terms of these roles? Because I don't feel the way society defines these roles is and stereotypes them as Christian roles or biblical roles is genuine. I don't think that at all. And it's always the people who don't read the scripture that want to take an opinion of a soundbite they heard or an old article they read or the lifestyle of an individual, as opposed to really taking some time out, doing some intense, and that's what it takes. If you're going to make a judgment, you want to do some intense, some legitimate study and evaluation, and then, you know, surmise in that sense.
I mean, I was going to say, let's take this way back, right? Let's take this back. I mean, a lot of things during World War I, World War II, World War III. Okay.
Come on, I was touching that. Yeah.
So when you look at how things were pre-war, you know, women were, because when the war started, women were doing different roles. You know, they were doing fixing things, they were sewing, they were working, they were you know, bringing in different materials.
There were no men. The men were at war. They had to come in and
exactly.
I said the men were at war. A majority of the men were out. So in that situation, they were pressed by by society to come in and play the position that typically would have been an uncomfortable or foreign position previously.
And these are mothers and wives. They've got children, but yet still, you know, they're out here doing playing all of these different roles. But then, obviously, when war ended, they went back. A lot of them went back to just being the wives and, you know, trying to. But then by then, they've already got a taste of working, of multitasking, of doing all these things. So it never really reverted back to women just being at home. And then you had the coal era, the times where all the men would go to the coals, and then the women again would be at home and, you know, looking after the children and even work, doing other jobs to bring in, you know, extra money. Yeah. So I do feel like there's a massive deception of women just being that have always just been at home and looked after children, if you get what I mean. Maybe in certain countries it has been like that, where women have actually had no choice but to stay home and raise children and take care of the home. Working was not an option. Even in some countries, working is still not an option for a wife who, you know, who's a mother. Yeah. Maybe if she's still single and she's a young girl, she may be able to go to school, enter a job, whatever. But by the time she becomes someone's wife, that role, you know, that gets put to the side now, and she has to focus on certain things. But when we're talking about in the West, in a sense, you know, the whole deception of, you know, women were always at home raising children wasn't really the case. Women have always, in the West, have always kind of like multitasked and done other bits, you know. But then for me, it's once we get into our homes, that's when it's sort of like, okay, what stance am I going to take? Yeah. When we become married, we then have to choose, in a sense, what position do I want to take? Yeah. You know, and then a man also has to choose what position does he want to take. So, you know, when we're talking about, you know, gender roles in marriage, it's important that we, you know, that we really speak and highlight the fact that individual relationships have to do what's best for them. Because I would never say, oh yeah, you know, you should be a housewife. I mean, it's the way it's supposed to be. Women are supposed to, I mean, when you go back to Proverbs and you read Proverbs 31, that always baffles me, because I'm just like, I've always just thought, this is how many centuries ago. Yeah. And this woman is out here on the streets, hustling, selling, you know, wooling. Yeah. She got maids and she's running a business. Yeah, yeah. And her husband is on the
he
gate.
Was an important person at the time, playing his position. But
she was working, looking after her children, making sure her all her maids were well taken care of. So the deception that we've been fed, I don't know where that has come from. I don't know where that's come from, because a woman should not feel inadequate because she's at home looking after her children, and a woman shouldn't feel inadequate because she's working and looking after her children, you know. So I do feel like there has to be, you know, we really have to begin to understand that there needs to be a balance in the way we think and process this whole gender role thing.
You made a point earlier on about, you know, it being natural. Is natural the right word? It being, what was the phrase you used? It was, like, you're talking about a dad. Basically, you know, just how mums have that maternal instinct, basically. And I'm not saying that dads don't, but, you know, it's like,
it's a bit different.
What would you say about a person that says, look, a man was made for this and a woman was made for this?
I would say, like, show me. Bring evidence to show me where.
Okay, so it's like, on that note, I think there are a few key things we need to identify. Like, what is the, as we made a point of earlier on, she's giving me the look, guys. So what is the worldview? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Then what is the plan, the marriage plan, the plan for marriage, and then the layer below that, really, we're talking about the roles that we're going to play. And I feel as though, you know, staying at home versus going to work is demonized. I think there is this. If I'm to advise my sisters and say to them, you know what, it's advisable for you to stay at home because you can raise your children, as opposed to permitting your children to be raised by complete strangers.
That's right.
You can train your children and ensure they have. And it's like my major problem with this, and I know this conversation goes deeper than that.
It does.
But at a high level is that, and we were having this great conversation yesterday with some others, and my major concern is that, you know, people are selling out their destiny in pursuit of cash. Do you understand? And if that's the case, cash then becomes an idol.
Yeah.
Cash becomes an idol. It's like, yeah, well, this is the way it's supposed to be done. This is normality. This is the way the world, like, everybody does it this way. And some people won't vocalize it. They won't verbalize it like that, but it's a subconscious internal reasoning that's pushing and driving their actions. And you talk about, and this is one thing I love about the Proverbs 31 woman, it's like, she was this kind of powerful, industrious, kind of sharp individual that focused on. She would rise early. The scripture said she would make sure that the house, the things in the house was in order. And when the thing that people don't understand is you can tell from how the scripture articulates. So go and read Proverbs 31, by the way. Powerful story, powerful account. And when you read that, what you find is that she is actually quite wealthy. Yeah. It positions her as someone who has substance.
Yeah.
And what I feel a lot of people don't understand is, and let me talk to my sisters for a minute, right? Going to the 9 to 5, and I'm not against, for the record, I'm not against women working, I'm not against women getting a job at all. I think what's important is, let me just even support that. Sister Sarah has done a massive job at supporting us over the years. Let's just even talk about the last decade. Before she's had the liberty, right, to
stay home.
To stay home. It was her request. She wants to stay home and take care of the family. So before we got to that space, but she was a massive support in terms of us kind of aspiring and journeying on. So I'm not against that at all. But my point is that I think what a lot of people overlook is the fact that there is liberty in terms of taking hold of your house. I don't know that the Proverbs 31 woman's house would have increased to the level that it was had she not been such a mover and shaker. Basically, managing those staff, ensuring that things were in order, being known by the people because of the transactions, the business that you might say that she was running, all those kind of things. I think those things are key in terms of her having a focus on her home.
Yeah.
And this is the issue. I think we go out, and a lot of people go out and they're like, I'm going to take on this job. I want to have this amazing career. And I'm talking now to my brothers and my sisters. I want to have this amazing career. And in doing so, what they do is they forsake the household. They forsake the values of the house. And it's all in pursuit of, if I've got this amount of money, it's like they think that money is the answer. All right. And that is what I feel begins to dictate certain gender roles in certain homes, certain perspectives of the role of a man. Maybe stop using that word gender roles now. The role of a man and the role of a woman.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel, as I started, we're going with the car versus the plane analogy. I think that agreement is massively important. I do believe God created us with unique and specific focuses at heart. Unique and specific focuses. The scripture talks about God is the head of the man is the head of the wife, and we always kind of tackle that with when the children come in. The children also join that hierarchy. But what does that mean in terms of the roles at home? People, like I was saying earlier on, people who are external to the faith immediately say, no, you see, she's a slave, she's subservient, and they want to lay hold to a lot of some of the historical parts of the scripture, but they don't understand how it's contextualized today.
Yeah.
You understand? And it's not always about a woman being demeaned or a man being, this kind of authority, this great authoritarian. And the problem is that we have these bad actors who mess up. They don't understand their role. They don't take their role seriously. And because of that, this then gives the others a bad rap.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking that the stereotype of a stay-at-home wife has been demised by movies.
Okay.
Because a lot of the times when you watch a movie and you see this mum who's been home since she's been having children, they end up divorcing maybe.
Yeah.
And then she ends up kind of like maybe losing as much as she possibly can lose. The judge tends to give her the house or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's always kind of like she never really got trained in any kind of job. She never really had any savings. The only money that she had was the money that her husband gave her. So they throw this stay-at-home mum under the bus when she gets a divorce. Yeah. So, it sends that message that no matter what, you do not want to be this woman, because nobody knows what's no one wishes for divorce. Obviously, married women are watching this woman being thrown under the bus by her husband. He's got a new mistress. She's left. Her kids have grown up now, and she's left with nothing. Everyone's gone their separate ways. She's got no training. She's got no job history. She's got no savings. She's got no money. All these kind of things, and it's just like, I do not want to be
that
you.
person. Yeah, yeah.
You know, so and time again. Or it's always this, it's an abusive relationship, and she's been beaten and she's been pulled left and right, and her heart is all over the place, and the kids love her so much, but is it just the children? You know, she needs more than just the children, the love of the children. And you feel so sorry for this woman who decided to be a stay-at-home mum. And you're also watching going, no one sent you. Like, you had so many choices. Yeah. You had so many choices. That did not have to be your only route. While you were a stay-at-home mum, you could have gone to university. You could have gotten yourself, some kind of training. And you begin to look at this woman in this film thinking, there was so much that you could have done, but you didn't. And then automatically it makes you kind of think this is the way society is. Yeah. If you become a stay-at-home mum, that could be your... That is your destiny. That could be you one day. So a lot of women sort of begin to shy away from that and just think, nah, that is definitely not what I want. So when they come into a marriage, the first thing they're not thinking is being a stay-at-home mum. Unless they're pretty clued up. They know, okay, they're going to be saving every time. They're going to get an allowance. They're going to do this. They're going to do that, and all these kind of things. Like, they might plan towards being a stay-at-home mum, but that's not everyone. So the examples that we have from society, from TV of stay-at-home mums isn't a good one. So a lot of women shy away from even wanting to say the word stay-at-home, But then for me, it's always a thing of where it's kind of like you're either selling something. It's either you're selling your children or you're selling yourself. Like, do you get what I mean? You're selling your time and your energy and your efforts outside. And your children are losing out, and then you're earning money, but there's, it's one of those ones for me where it's kind of like a decision that one really has to make internally, and really stick with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's super important. I find that people don't value experience, but they value the opinion, and I think that's the issue. It's like it's opinion over experience. Like, I'm well spiritual, you guys, right now. So, like, God says to you, God gives us directions and says, look, this is the pathway that will benefit you. Take this road, and the person begins to walk along that pathway, and then they begin to hear, and they begin to sense, and they begin to feel the pressures of others around, and they succumb to that pressure. And so now you've got this young, tenacious sister who's aspiring in the in the city. She's aspiring in the city. She wants to climb. She's in banking. She's trying to really ascend in that area, and it's whatever it takes. And you've got the mindset that I've got to work harder than everyone else. I've got to do this because, I'm trying to break ground here. And this is, I'm fighting for my rights. But in actuality, I feel as though to a degree, some of this is really conforming to a social construct that really doesn't have the long-term interests and benefits of maybe that individual. And again, I have to emphasize, I'm not saying don't go to work. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not saying, like, my thing is, like, everyone should run a business. Like, everyone, like, most everyone should run a business. And when I say that, I mean, like, look, what you're doing at work, you can be consulting now or selling those services to an individual. Like, listen, I'm just saying to you, like, one way or another, like, there's nothing wrong with working. Like, work a job, if that's what it is. But I feel as though that we all have something to give. Yeah. And in one way or another, even if it's at the lowest level, you're a cashier or a burger flipper in McD's, but you've got some talent, some skill, some ability elsewhere, and it might just be the way you flip those burgers. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're able to train someone and be like, look, if you flip it like this, and if you can, then you can get this job. It's like we all have abilities and gifts that we're able to convey to others to help them come up. To sow seeds up the lives of others, and I think that's important. But where I'm going with this is that I feel as though there's a lack of appreciation for destiny and all that experience. And what I'm talking about is really destiny. It's like there's a calling, and we don't really know. Like, many people don't know where they're going to be in like 20 years time. Yeah. And because of that, they fight to get a job, to earn some money, to make some ends meet. and they do that at the expense of taking some time out, doing some training, getting a course, speaking to someone, getting some counsel, and really establishing what they're good at, where their gifts are, and where they'll be. And you know my thing, it's like 40 years down the line, some people are like kind of upset. There was this book, you know, they interviewed loads of people after the age of retirement, and they were like, oh, what were your regrets? What were your regrets? And a lot of these guys are typically what they're saying is the things they didn't do, the risks they didn't take, these were the things that caused them to regret. And this is my big thing. It's like, I don't want that to be the cry of believing people, Christians, for them to say that, you know what, I didn't invest enough in my marriage. I worked 30, 40 years to get the money to ensure that we were supported, but really she wishes she would have stayed home and looked after her children, or he wishes that he would have invested more time into the house, and etc, etc. And I think it's always the way. The house, the marriage, the children are, as you've said, always the expense that pays for the wrong decisions that are made early in. And this is key. I think when we're talking about these roles, I think what we need to think about is what is contingent on these roles. What is the expense of taking up this picture that society paints for you, as opposed to the God-given role that you should be suited to. It's like, look, if you want, let me ask you a question really quickly. You guys, let me ask a question out here really quickly as well. So like,
just chatting away, aren't we?
I told you how we do. This how we do. So the question is this: what's your view of gender roles? How would you define them? I really want
to hear what the community is saying about this, because go on.
How would you define them? And if you're married, what do you see the kind of dynamic or the construct in your house? And if you're, you know, courting, looking towards marriage, what do you see or envisage should be that, you know, that split as you move forward? So I was going to say this to you. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you worked for years. You worked so many different jobs, all right? And now you have the luxury. I'm gonna keep, you know, painting it that way.
Yeah, because it is a luxury, to be fair.
Okay, so you have the luxury of, you know, doing what you want to do. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So how do the two match up? I mean, let's talk about, you know, kind of fulfillment. Let's talk about day-to-day activities. I know you spend a lot of time on your phone and that. So talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, my days. I feel like there's a difference between when you start working, because I started working really young. I got my first job at like the minute I was able to get a job, I got one. I think I was like 15 or so.
16,
yeah. 15, 16, I started working. So for me, I've always had that working mentality, getting money for myself, you know, striving for myself. And then obviously you came along with your fancy, but you were still providing, so it was okay. So I had more than I had extra before. Coming in.
More than you had before.
You know, so but obviously the working. However, when I feel like it changed for me when I had the boys. Like when I had, obviously we had Grace quite young, so we were still doing what we were doing. We weren't even really thinking like that anyway. And then when we had Joe, it was, you know, very similar. I was working a lot at that time. You was, you know, doing your training and all that kind of stuff. And then, but I feel like it was when I had the boys that it really changed for me. That was when I was more like, I don't want to go to work anymore.
Okay.
I don't want to. I want to be with my babies. I want to be with my children. I don't know what happened that caused that shift. You know, obviously I'm older now. You're in a stable position. You know, you're doing really well in work and all that kind of stuff. And I just really wanted to be home. I did not want to send my children to nursery.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that was really quite hard for me. I just didn't want to send my boys to nursery. And then we, you know, really had to make that decision. And it's funny because we were talking the other day and I was like, I had to let go of like £35,000 a year. That is not easy for anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, cutting, you know, the household income by 35 or so thousand, a lot of people will be like, what? No way. Yeah. There's just no way I could do that. But you know what? God is so good. We didn't lack nothing. it didn't feel like, anything was missing. I was able to go part-time for a while as well. God was so good, graced me with really good management who liked me. I don't know about anyone else, but me and my managers got on. So I was able to go from full-time to part-time and then just make that transition. But we made it work, and it was what our hearts really desired. And I think that's what's really important. When a marriage understands that, the desires of your heart, if they're right, the Lord will work with you and help to fulfill these things to bring them to fruition. So, for me, and then it was just like, oh my gosh, I started thinking, mate, all you stay-at-home mums, you started living life. You started living the life, whereas other stay-at-home mums would probably be like, no, I actually would want to go to work.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just one of those things where I was just like, I want to raise my children. I want to raise my babies. I do not want to give my babies to a nanny, to an institution that is going to take them from 7 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. Who knows? It depends. So for me, that was my personal thing. I really wanted to just be home for the boys, and so did you, but you had to, you had to stay working, kind of thing. But for me, would I change? And no, I wouldn't. I mean, I love being home full time, but then again, I still find ways to bring in an income. I still find ways to, do little bits here and there. And I think that's what's really important, because a lot of the times when women think about just staying home, we still have to think about, as hard as it may be, I think anyway. I mean, some mums have the luxury to just not even bring in a dime into the house. Yeah. Like, they don't have to, or, again, it's married to marriage. Yeah. It's whatever. Do you get what I mean? And it's people as well, because you have some women who are just workaholics who can't not work, whether it's a business, whether it's selling hair, whether it's selling material, whether it's cooking. They just always want to do something, where you do have some that just want to focus on the children, focus on housekeep, focus on cooking, their thing. So it just varies, from person to person. Not every stay-at-home mum, stay-at-home wife is going to be doing exactly the same thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah,
I think it's like you had the wonderful opportunity to experience both sides.
Yes, definitely.
And I think some people only experience it in their mind. It's just like, oh, like you said, they watch the movie, it's like, I never want to be that person. And because of that fear or whatever, that motivation drives them to get into a career and just, kind of shoot for the top or not, and just remain in that place consistently. And it's important that we are sober-minded in terms of when we're going into our positions. Like you said, you really kind of present that really well. And when we initially got together, that wasn't so much a thing, kind of thing. It wasn't so much. I think maybe there was, a little bit of machoism for me on my side and that. But I think as we developed and came to the kingdom and grew in the kingdom, we understood that there is an authority structure. Yeah. And the authority structure doesn't necessarily demean one way or another. And I think, obviously, like I said, there were periods where we were both working, both going out, had the children, had to pick the children up from, drop them. We had to work out our strategy, drop one, pick one up. You were on shifts at a particular moment in time. So it was like soliciting friends and family to support us, to look after the children. So it gets really complex.
It does.
Where you don't, think about how many people we know that don't have the community.
Support, that network,
they don't have that support network. So for them, it's kind of a challenge all the more. And the only options they perceive is, well, I have to go to work and they have to go to the care. That's all that we can do. I just feel as though there is this lack of sober-mindedness, and there is this lack of a concrete philosophy of life. People really are making this up as they go along. Oh, this is what they do, this is what I saw over there, and I'm going to try it. And I think that is a problem in terms of pursuing authentic roles, authentic, and I'll go biblical now, authentic biblical positioning in life. Because if I'm constantly thinking about what the news says, constantly thinking about what the government's telling me, constantly thinking about what Jack down the road has got to say, those things they become impediments in terms of my decision-making process, because I can't base it on something. But if I'm now, however, saying, this is what the scripture says. The scripture says that this is your position, and it's if a man can't look after his household, then he's worse than an infidel. He's not playing his position accordingly, basically. And I think those things are key in that, having substance, real living substance to base your marriage on, to base your life on, to base the dynamic of the responsibilities in the house, enables certain people to move forward. Whereas there are so many people who are just not structured in that way. And it's just it's them defaulting to the gender roles that society prescribed. And the minute you say to them, oh yeah, this is what the biblical perspective perspective is, then they immediately get defensive. Shut off. Yeah, because they feel like, oh, I know where you're going. I know what that means. You know, like, so it's like they're in the courting phase, and like, so what's your view of gender roles? Yeah, well, I feel that, you know, the man should lead, and you know, if you wanted to stay at home, XYZ, then you know that would be ideal. It's like, oh, I know where you're going with this. So you want me to be the servant, the cleaner, the slave, and you go out and another thing I feel that really feeds into this is where it's a woman, a sister can feel as though she is dependent, and I think this is, you know,
I think dependency is a big one.
We could really go some of this, but it's a fear. Really, I do
feel like dependency is a big one because, you know, like I said earlier on, no one, as much as, you know, everybody wants to stay married, nobody knows what
the outcome,
the potential outcome, as much as you can work on it. So, you know, a lot of the times in many people's minds, and I thank God that's not in the back of our mind, but in a lot of marriages, in the back of the mind is, what if this goes up in smoke?
Yeah.
What am I going to do if this goes up in smoke?
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot, you know, so they are already sort of like arranging plan B some way, somehow. Plan B is kind of like there. But then that's what can cause the divorce to come, because these plan Bs are being, you know, festered in the back of the mind of married people. So, you know, that's another thing I feel like a lot of people might not think, but it's something that happens. You know, the more they're creating this plan B, the quicker the plan B might actually come to pass. You know, so I do think it's important for us to not really, I'm not saying don't plan the future. Plan the future of your family. Don't plan the future of how you're gonna run away. Do you get what I mean? So
What would you say to a sister or to a brother who feels as though a biblical, like a sister who's afraid that if she was to maybe make the jump that you made, I'm gonna stay home, that she will be at the whim of her husband. She will have nothing of her own, and that will be a struggle. Or to the guy who says, look, I can never present the idea to my wife that, you know, she should stay home because she's just like, I'm a powerhouse, and she would never accept that. Remember, we watched a film, and that that same film we were talking about, I think maybe last year.
The husband was the entrepreneur guy.
I think so, and it was
and
like...
the other guy was trying to tell the woman to leave.
Yeah, I think it's the one with it, and she was basically, she don't want to stay at home or something. She don't want to But the mum was like, the mum was cussing at the man because of the provision, basically.
Right. Oh yeah.
So it's a similar scenario, basically. Sorry guys, we just so just like basically a scenario where you've got a husband who's saying, you know what, you stay home, but she's doesn't mind the 4 months or maternity. She's even trying to cut that short because she wants to get back out there. She wants to get back out there and, you know, and hustle. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I'd say to a woman is, what if she wants to stay home? Was it?
No, she wants to get back out there.
She wants to get back out there.
Like, she's concerned about putting her life in the hands of her husband.
I mean, the first thing is it's about what works for them. If her husband is not good with money, if he's on the verge of being sacked every couple months, let's say he's not as a good employee as she is, like, because let's face it, some people are in different positions at work. Some people have been having promotions, and some people have just stayed stagnant in one role. Now, I think these are things to look at. So again, it just has to be, the situation has to be analysed. If you was jumping from job to job, there's no way I would have given up my job. Let's just put it out there. Because at the same time, there still has to be that sense of security for the woman who is going to be home. If he cannot ensure her at that time, because like I said, you never know, the company might actually, it might not even be the the workforce, it might actually be the company that goes bust.
Yeah.
So you just never know. But the sense of security has to be there for a woman to leave her income, her friends, her colleagues, the lifestyle that she's used to, you know, because everything changes and everything does change. It then becomes, as this might sound like so to some people, as funny as it might, like, babes, can I have £200 to buy a bag, please? Like, if I was working, who's asking anyone for £200? I'll just come buy my bag.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you I bought a bag for £200. Do you get what I'm saying? So
it's like that, yeah.
No, but this would be the new dynamic. It would be, you know, can I have funds to do this? Can I have funds to take the kids here? Can I have funds for fuel? Can I And it now becomes a thing of where, in a lot of cases, people might think she now becomes like one of the children because she's constantly asking, can I have? Yeah. So for me,
she don't just use her joint card and just go around and swipe as she likes.
But this is the thing: some people don't have joint accounts, and that's another issue. Because if there was a joint account, you know, she might not have to ask because she knows the top up is there and she can use it. Thank God, hallelujah, amen. You know. You know, she can use it freely and the husband, you know, sees what's going out and all that kind of stuff. But again, it just depends on what people are comfortable with, because not everyone is, even up to today, you've got husbands and wives that are not comfortable asking their spouse for money. They're not comfortable asking their spouse to even get them stuff.
That's deep.
You understand? So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, oh, I've got to ask this man for money again. Like, I want to go out with my girls and I've got to ask him for money. So it just depends on where people are in their marriages, what level of friendship that we speak about this week after week.
Come on.
Do you know what I'm saying? So what people are building in their marriage, again, is going to define how this particular situation plays out. Because some women might want to stay home, but they just know that they cannot trust their husbands enough for them to stay home. Do you get what I'm saying? And like a man who might want to ask his wife to stay home, he might know that, okay, she has to give up so much. And then some men don't want to hear 20 years later, oh, it's because of you. My life was miserable. You asked me to stay home. I stayed home. You was the one always going out, having fun, being further. And then that's another headache.
Yeah.
So even sometimes, before a man is even now going to ask, he's probably going to be thinking, is she going to have me a couple of years from now? Like, is she going to blame me for this? Is she going to blame me for that? When she's not happy, is it going to be my fault? You know? So it just has to be a thing of where couples are like 100% into it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not 50-50. It really isn't. This has to be a decision 100% from the wife, 100% from the husband.
Absolutely.
To make it work, you know.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted us to step away from talking about gender roles and work and talk about gender roles in the home.
Come on, you know, let me tell you something, yeah. The lady reads my mind, honestly. So, yeah. I was going to say, for those of you who chose to stick around this far, we're going to take it a little deeper. Well done.
No,
so I was going to say, so question. Is it wrong for a man, like they're discussing the roles, and for the man to be, okay, listen, you're going to do all the cooking and all the cleaning. Like, is that a wrong thing to do?
If he's a terrible cook, then yeah, he needs to stay at the kitchen. Okay. But cleaning, everyone can learn to cook. Everyone can learn to cook too. You understand? Okay. Everyone can learn to cook too. So he might start off with, you cook, you do all the cleaning, but things are going to happen where he might need to cook and need to clean. So for me, again, it just kind of depends on the standard of that marriage. Okay? Because at the point when that is said, the wife should now be saying, why are you asking me to cook and clean?
Because that's how I see marriage. Men work, women cook and clean.
And where did you get that from?
That's what I saw in my... Like he says, that's what he saw at home in his house.
Yeah, and I'm like, I ain't your mama.
Okay, cool.
Right? Is that the right answer, ladies? I don't know.
How would you respond? Listen, if you still got some sisters on the chat, listen. If a man posed that to you, your husband posed that to you, if you're in a courting phase and he says to you, look, you know what, I want you to cook and do all the cleaning. That's just how I see marriage working. Phase. What would you say? How would you appeal to that? But go on, you wanted to. That was a question I wanted to open up with. But go on, you go.
Yeah, no. So I mean, first things first. Me personally, I wouldn't too mind that because I know that when I hear that, I have to now start educating that man, in a sense, you know. Let's say you was to say that to me. Thank God you never said that to me, because you were well trained. Hallelujah.
Thank you, my parents.
Do you know what I mean? Even if it was spaghetti bolognese that you started with, that was enough for me to know that you can do something in the kitchen. So there was hope.
What about beans on toast?
So there was hope. Do you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it just depends on where this relationship wants to go with this, you know. Because a lot of times, some women, I don't know anyone who has literally been told, you're going to cook and you're going to clean.
Let's be real, right? Look, especially...
Does that even really happen? We're not talking about Africa,
I'm going
India,
I'm going straight in.
Blah, blah, blah.
People of African descent, like people with that type of culture, this is a reality that we know. And it's unspoken. You don't need to say it. You just said to me, because I was well trained. What does well trained mean to you? You know what that means. And I know what I had an expectation of well trained meant to me. It's like...
Well trained meant you couldn't stand seeing a cup in the sink before you went to bed. So straight away, I know that's well trained.
Yeah, it's like...
You would sweep the floor if there was something. Do you know what I'm saying? You will pick up the Hoover and do certain things. You understand? But if you was now... If when we started...
Hoover that. Clean that. Cook that. Do that.
Sorry? Listen, that's not gonna run. Do you know what I'm saying? But so a woman can pick things up, and so can a man. I remember my brother, he was dating this girl, pretty girl, and fine on the outside. Everything was correct. You understand? My brother, why are you in bed at 10 o'clock in the morning? Are you all right? Get up. Like he started thinking, well, what kind of woman is still in bed at 10 a.m.?
Yeah.
Like, you should have been dressed, bathed, things should have been done by now.
Yeah.
You understand? Couple months went on and he clocked, you are definitely not the one
I'm looking for, yeah.
Because he has a particular standard of himself. He knows that he will wash up after himself. He will hoover. He will do certain things. You understand? So for a woman to come into his life to just want to laze about, for him, that's obvious. That's definitely not.
But that's
definitely not wifey material. You can look good on the outside. Yeah. Obviously, this is my brother. You could look good on the outside, but you also had to have certain qualities in order to make that work.
But isn't that the kind of atypical? I'm gonna stay at home. She's a stay at home. He's gonna look after me. He's gonna do everything. She don't need to work. He's gonna do all the work in X, Y, Z.
No, that one's a case for obesity.
Okay.
You understand? Because she's just going to sit at home, eat, and then the man, I can't even picture it. I'm sorry. I can never just picture a man running after a woman like that. It's just not in my nature. Yeah. I just can't see it. Do you get what I'm saying? But so for me, it's one of those things where, you know, it depends on what someone's willing to accept. If a man says to a woman that he's about to marry, this is what I want you to do, this, and this, and she says yes, she's saying yes to that. So you can't complain 3 years down the line. You've got 2-3 kids and he's now not cooking and he's not cleaning. He's already told you his agenda and you agreed. So if you wasn't willing to work on it at the time when he said to you, this is this, and the woman didn't turn around and say, all right, I understand that, but you do have to understand that there are going to be times and positions where I will not be able to cook and clean.
Yeah.
So what do we do then? If he turns around and says, well, at the times when you know, so quick, we're going to hire a cook, we're going to hire a cleaner until you're available again. Fair enough. But if he's just like, well, I don't know, already you know you've got a problem because things are going to be a mess when you're not able to do things.
Yeah.
One thing I always say is that a man should be able to do the things but not have to do it.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
He should be able, because one of the scenarios that I always constantly think of is when a woman has a baby. When a woman has a baby, she does not need to come straight home to start cleaning, cooking, running around, doing this. She needs to heal.
I think the powerful point that says is bringing in here now is that there were a number of C-sections that obviously we experienced.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and based on that, it's like I think that really shaped your view of what it means for a woman to go into the hospital one way, come back, you've got a baby, there's a bundle of joy there, yet at the same time you're not yourself. Exactly.
For a period of time.
Yeah.
You know, and then imagine if the husband just has no clue, no idea. You know, I mean, some women are wise enough to call their sister and be like, look, I'm gonna need you for 3-4 days, because you already know this man don't do nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? He don't. This is just not his department. So come and help me. And that obviously, mums will come by as well. Mums come by, but that's that family's dynamic. The sister knows that the husband don't cook and clean. The mum knows that the husband doesn't cook and clean. So when she's about to put to bed, she should be making these plans so that she doesn't come home to headache. You know. So it's not just, but that's if she even has people in her life. Support the network. Do you know what I'm saying? Exactly. So for me, it's something for people to really think about. It's something for people to really think about, and also for men who have that stance of, you do this, I do that, and that's just the way it is. That's not realistic.
So you disagree with the let's just take the kind of typical African culture. You made a reference about world wars previously. It's funny, I was doing some research a little while ago into wars, and it had become apparent that in certain African countries where there was this kind of real intense war, like kind of this intense oppression, in that there's a lot of war going on and the men are going out to battle, we find that those women are shifting into those roles that the men would be. They're now kind of the community leaders. They're now the kind of, not just cooking, but they're now the kind of...
they're on the front line.
Exactly. Doing all of those things that are necessary to be done for the household. So are you saying that you disagree with the typical African role set, in that the man goes out, takes care of the house, and then the woman kind of, goes out and, let's just say, use the word, I don't like to use that word particularly, but he provides for the house. God is the provider, really, but he goes out and does resourcing, and then the woman is the kind of, the
bring it together,
the home administrator kind of thing. Do you feel that is a wrong model?
The first thing I'd say to that is, majority of the men from back then came from multiple, like, extended families. The dad might have 3, 4, 5 wives. Polygamous. So these women were not running a whole household on their own. They had other wives there. It would be this person to sweep the compound. This woman and her child will go and fetch the water on this particular day. So things were...
It's not all... I understand what you're saying,
but this is where it started.
But it's not all like that.
But this is how it started. It didn't just start from, one man and a farm. Bye. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, people grew up in large communities.
That's
African
right.
people have multiple children and very quickly. Do you get what I'm saying? So a lot of times when we're thinking about these people that started this stereotype, we think of them in our situation, in our day and age, when that was not the case. Women had so much support. They had themselves, even sometimes the mother of the father of the husband would be there. She would be there. Maybe the sister might be there. He might be catering for the sister to go to school. So the dynamics was so different to where the way it is in the West. In the West is 2 people and their children, the door shut. Yeah. But back home, that's not how it was. Even if you look at in the countries that still have that similar philosophy of women stay home, these women have communities that they work with. They have, it's not just them. They're open like that. When a woman has a baby, you'll have X amount of women that will march through that door. One will bring this, the other one will bath the baby, the other one will rub her back, press her belly, do different things, and they will ensure this woman does not lift a finger. So, and the husband might see the baby that one day and he's gone again, morning till evening, but he knows that his wife has support. She's catered to, she's not left to herself, whereas that's not the same here. So for men or for families who have that stereotypical view, if you don't have a good support network, that doesn't really work. That causes more oppression and depression than it has any benefits. In my opinion. So in my opinion.
Food for thought. Alright, I think we're gonna. Unless you got some more you want us to go into, let's jump into the comments. You got some more?
Yeah, I just wrote down some notes regarding it, because interaction, like the way we interact with each other as husband and wife is very important for the children that you're raising that we're raising within the home. So I do feel that there has to be a balance on what mummy does and what daddy does. Yeah. Because the one thing we don't want to do is bring confusion to our children, to be like, especially if you have the privilege of having a 2-parent home. Because let's face it, that is a privilege. And some marriages fight just for that, so that their children are raised in 2-parent homes. And then when their kids are big, they go their separate ways, and they're like, we've done our job, kind of thing. Although I don't really even see the logic in that, but that's what some people do. So
you're saying there should be a clear distinction between the roles of dad and the roles of mum?
Definitely. Okay. There should be some clear distinctions. However, if the lines are blurred, you know, these things should be sort of like explained to the children. Like, you already know, I'm gonna make it a fact that they, thank God, they just kind of have it naturally, but the boys know how to cook, they know how to clean, they know how to manage a house when we're not there. Do you get what I'm saying? Because when they grow up, it doesn't matter how great your wife is, you should still be able to manage things when she's not able to.
And you talk about my home training. That was a massive thing in the mind of my dad. I knew that, I saw that, and he would present it maybe overtly, but then maybe not so overtly as well. We would observe him the way he was, and there was a good period of time where it was just him demonstrating that, you know, as a man, you cook, you clean, you manage that house, you organize the structure. And kind of with my mum as well, similar things. Obviously, for me, I envisaged them together for a good period of time, and then obviously independently, separately for a good period of time as well. So I think during those journeys, that was something that he was, just like you're talking about your brother, you're talking about yourself, I'm talking about my dad now. So I think that there are those men who see that as a fundamental part. I must be autonomous as a man. Drop me anywhere, I must be able to organize myself and operate in that way. I think I totally agree with you. And I think, but I feel as though there are some who would say, no, you know, your wife, you don't need to learn to cook, because when you get married, your wife will handle that for you.
Yeah, so some people probably are being told that. But then that's left to their demise, because what happens when she doesn't want to cook? Is he going to throw a fit? What happens if she ends up in hospital? Is he going to get another woman to replace her for 2 weeks? Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So these things, obviously, people have to think about, you know, and men who are being fed this kind of information need to analyze things for themselves. Like, how realistic is that, dad? Or how realistic is that, uncle? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Wherever they're getting this information from.
You brought in roles now, yeah. And let's just hone in on that point you just made there. Yeah? Where are they getting their information from? So I brought my dad in. We spoke about your brother. You're talking about your view and the boys today, our sons today. So how important is it for a parent, for a dad, and for a mum to explicitly, you summarized it just now, but to explicitly, because, you know, train, teach, mentor, instruct, because there are so many parents, and you know, I've harped on about this for maybe the last 5 to 10 years now, who are permitting their children to be raised on autopilot. They let the children be taken away with school, and the school will just teach them. They don't ask them any questions about school, any questions about the culture. They don't question the curriculum at all. They don't explicitly talk to them at home about, like I said to you, both covertly and overtly. My dad would do the things at home that were necessary for a man to do, that he felt that we should do. But at the same time, he would instruct us, you know, it's important for a man to cook, son. It's important for a man to know how to cook. And sometimes he'd be like, he might call us in the kitchen and we'll just be talking and he's cooking away. So you're observing him. You maybe don't know what he's doing, but you see that, oh yeah, that's a stew, and he's putting the stew together in that way. But those are lessons from a parent who is explicitly, and you've made the point that that's an approach we're taking. But for the people out there, for the community, how important is it for them to explicitly train their child? Some people's children are 5 years old. At what point should they be making that explicit? You know, son, daughter, XYZ.
You see, the thing is, and children don't need that. Children don't need that sit down explicit. You know, the way I do things is, I will now, let's just take laundry for instance. I will say, Isaiah, come in and take out the washing machine. Yeah. He'll take the washing machine. I say, put it in the tumble dryer. He'll put it in the tumble dryer. Stevie, put clothes in the washing machine. Stevie's 4 years old.
Yeah.
Stevie, put clothes in the washing machine. He'll put clothes, and they're excited to turn the dial, put the soap in, all those things. So from 4 and 6, they've already started doing laundry. They're not doing heavy laundry, but they're understanding that clothes go in this one, go on a cycle, go in that one, go on a cycle, come out, and it's ready to wear. So as they grow, you know, by the time the children are 8 and 9, let's just to say, you know, they should be able to fully do laundry.
Is that a blur in terms of, because obviously you're saying now there's an explicit kind of division in terms of roles.
You teach them as they grow. You don't need to sit them down and say, oh, this is what you do, blah blah blah. You teach them through actions. You teach them through experience. Household, you know, in the household environment. It's like, now it's probably, no one really takes a stance anymore of men don't cook. I'm not going to teach my son don't need to come in the kitchen. Who does that these days? Most mothers understand, and especially mothers probably who have husbands who are not so functional doing household things. Unless the dad says, I don't want my son in the kitchen. Boy, come out of there. Do you get what I'm saying? If he's not doing that, most mums will probably be like, you know, the son will be standing there looking, and she said, oh, this is garlic. I'm chopping the garlic. I'm putting it in there. Oh, this is Maggie, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden, that child does start to take interest in how the mum is cooking. And then, you know, children learn from what they see. You know, children learn from what they see. So that's why, for me, I do believe that the interaction with gender roles is important within the home. But at the same time, we should be teaching them how to do everything within the home, just so that if because they can get to that point where they don't want to cook, but they know how to cook. You know, and I just feel, for me, that's what's important here. It's not about who does what. It's about everybody being able to do it, but having the option not to, but being able to when needed. You know, perfect. That's what that's kind of like how I kind of take it as well.
What else you got on your list?
I was going to ask you a question.
Go for it.
Decision making.
Yeah.
In marriages. Who should it always kind of fall down to? Who should it fall down to? And you know, decision making.
This is a question.
Do you feel like there is a gender thing with decision making?
This question always comes up in mentorship when I'm kind of talking to guys about marriage and that kind of stuff, and it's a kind of a pervading question. It resurfaces again and again, and I feel as though I will refer to the structure. I'll call it the divine authority structure that I referenced earlier on, basically, and it's like God. Or let's say Christ is the head of the man is the head of the wife, and then we have the kind of let's just say the children exists within that dynamic. And I think that I believe there is a chief responsibility on the head of the house, which is the man. And I've said it before, even on this stream, some of you guys would have heard it. There are things in our kind of realm I will delegate to you. And it's just like, get it done. This is you. It's just like, I need you to do it. And you will come back and maybe feedback to me, or maybe not, or so. But I feel as though that is the appropriate structure. And it comes down to that same kind of driving analogy. Like, there's one steering wheel. We can't both argue about a resolution. It's not like, that is not progressive. That is not going to take us forward. We are going to be stagnant if we live in that manner. So, and this really comes down to the worldview. As I make this point all the time, what are you standing on? Some people are just like, yeah, she's the more analytical one. I'm happy for her to lead me. I understand why a man would make that decision. I think divinely, that may not be beneficial. Like, logically and naturally, you may cover some ground. Yet that makes sense. It's giving me the look, boy. Like, I think that may present some. That has the potential to present some challenges.
I'm just facing forward because there's some women that I need to defend right now.
Okay. So spiritually, I think that can cause some issues. I'm not saying. Listen, this is the thing. Yeah, I feel as though. Let me face my sisters. Like, I feel as though. And I've made this point before. If you've been here for any length of time, you know what time it is. I feel as though when a man takes the lead, that doesn't render the woman useless. It is not. That is not a license to say you don't have capacity, you don't have the ability, you don't have the resourcefulness. Because to be honest with you, there are many a woman who could you pit them against a man, and it's like in certain like, let's just talk about in that kind of analytical stuff. And this again comes down to who you were trained by, who you were raised by, what you saw, how good your upbringing, your home training was, your exposure, your experiences were. There is many a sister who you put them next to a brother, and you will find that there's challenges there. There are challenges in that he can't keep up, he can't maintain. But that doesn't mean. Wait, let me. So, but that doesn't mean that she should belittle him in that. And I think that if a man is given the opportunity to lead sensibly with wisdom, he has to draw on the resourcefulness of his wife. Like I said to you, it's just like, there are things that I'm just be like, it says handle that, it says deal with that. Do you know what I mean? Can you do? And it's like, we know ourselves, but I think decision making, like, there needs to be a clear acknowledgement of the authority structure. At the end of the day, it's like, either we're in a debate and I'm like, look, you know what, this is what it is and that's how it goes. Or no, it's like, look,
you don't really shut me down anyway.
We live in listen. We live in a democratic society today where one party gets to rule and lead, or you know what I mean, where XYZ, and during that period you don't get the shadow cabinet coming and say, well, this is what's gonna happen. Like, they gotta wait their turn. This is not their opportunity. That's not how it works. We talk about democracy. So it's like we choose to live under the theocracy. It's like, this is God's structure. This is what God says. This is how we're gonna execute and exact our relationship and our life. So I think there needs to be a clear, like, quibbling over me, you, me. Like, I think that's foolishness. I think that's utter foolishness that will take the marriage nowhere.
So you're saying it's okay if a man gives the wife responsibility. Why are you looking at me?
I'm just listening to you. What's going on?
That face.
Alright, cool. I don't know.
Sorry, guys.
Wait, I'll play it back. I have to play it back and see what that face was. Double tap to the left. See what face I made.
So you're saying that it's okay for a man to give up all his birthrights to a woman if he can't lead, basically?
I never said that. Did I? Wait. Did anybody hear me say that? Did anybody hear me say that?
Wait,
so you mean you're talking about in delegated responsibilities? Are you talking about?
Basically.
No.
I'm just kidding, babe. I'm just playing with you. So some men are not natural born leaders. Okay.
Yeah.
Should they be making important decisions that that bank on their family's life?
I said just now, look, if the man is wise,
oh God,
he will draw on the counsel of his wife. Like, you know what? It took me a while. Let me I'll let it like this. It took me a while. Like, the kind of background I've got, the kind of experience I've got, the culture that precedes me, and even I mean that as in both the African culture and also the Western East London culture. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you amalgamate those things together,
it's a tough one.
Listen, that presenting a challenge to me. Do you understand? It's like a woman you can't be a pushover for a woman. Do you understand? It's like these are some. So it took me a while, and you know that we were walking the journey together. It took me a while, and I praise God that He opened His arms to us, and we were able to kind of find our way through His kingdom.
Yeah.
And it was through that transitional period I was able to understand that, you know, there is great power in a woman, great value in a wife, that if you forsake that, it is to your own loss and to your own hurt. And it was just through developing in the kingdom that those things became clear to me. So I feel as though, to answer your question, the man needs to take his position of leadership. However, don't be foolish and think. This is what I was saying to you about bad actors before. Don't be foolish and be like, yeah, well, you know, like, I'm the boss, so what I'm saying is this, and it's like, that's just foolishness. You need to utilize the wisdom of your wife. It, like, because what's the point? What's the point? Like, you are not going. That's the same as not having a leader and just arguing. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it that way. We're going to. It's like, I don't think that is fruitful or conducive to marriage success.
Okay, so, but at what point can a woman make the decision? Like, have like the final decision? Like, is that a thing?
She's trying to put me on the spot now.
No,
look,
I'm just asking. Like, look. Okay, so what I'm asking is, let's say they're debating about something, or they're discussing something.
Yep.
At a point, do you feel like the woman can say, "This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it"?
No.
You don't think that?
What do you want me to say? It's like, look. It depends on relational dynamic. It's like, listen, I've said it to you before. Look, okay, this is a safe zone, guys. I tell you guys this all on a regular basis. This is an opportunity for you guys to come here, for us to have real talk, real conversations in the safety of this YouTube playlist. All right? So I'm just going to be straight. Like, let's just talk about us.
Yeah.
All right? You know me already. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, if you want to do that, you can do that. Mm-hmm. But I don't agree.
Yeah.
And the reality is...
Yeah, that's true.
Based on the fact that we are both in service to the king, mm-hmm. and our worldview, like, we live out our worldview based on that, mm-hmm. at that point in time, what I'm saying to you is, this is down to you, mm-hmm. and if you want to take that responsibility on yourself, that's on you. I do not agree with it. Mm-hmm. Doing that, you're going against my wishes, mm-hmm. but it's on you.
Okay. So,
and I feel that level of honesty mm-hmm. really helps develop both the relationship and the understanding of the liberty that exists within the relationship.
Right. So, would you say that if a woman wants to make a decision about her own personal thing, let's say it doesn't involve the kids, it doesn't involve the household kind of decision kind of thing, because some women might want to do something and the husband can try to override what is it she wants to do, like, for herself.
Yeah, I've got you.
But then, would you say that she can have the final say on that? But when it comes to like household, family decision dynamic, she basically it's for the husband to decide. Because I would kind of be like, if it's to do with me,
it's on you.
Yeah, in a sense, and I can choose to submit to your decision on it, or I can choose to go with my decision on it. But if it's the kids, household, money, when it's the House of Ezekiel thing, I know that I can't have the final say, if you get what I mean.
I'm trying to think of an example, but what I'd say, I think...
Do you guys get what I mean?
Yeah, I believe I'm following you as well. So I think my previous statement will still stand. Yeah. It depends. If like... Because I think, are you asking, should the man agree with his wife? Mm-hmm. Or are you saying, does she have the autonomy, the ability to say, this is what I want to do? Because obviously... As much as they're one unit, they are one house, the woman still has a mouth, he has a mouth, she still has legs, he has legs. Yeah. So obviously, they are at liberty to leave the house in the daytime, go do what they want to do, come back and talk about what they did, isn't it? That's true. Yeah. It's like someone's out in I don't know, somewhere far from home. They're going to call their spouse and be like, what should I eat for lunch? I know some people do that, but it's are they going to do that? And I think it really comes down to the relationship themselves. And I think we're talking about a really deep level of control there. Yeah. You're saying someone should control. Is it right for a husband to control the woman's
individual
independence, basically, level of independence? And I don't know that I would agree with that. I don't think that is... You'd
give your input, but the final say should be mine.
That's how it works, isn't it? It's like...
but you have some men that are just like, no, you're not doing that. Even that's what she wants to do.
I feel as though... there are some deeper issues there. Like, I don't think we're going to that now.
That's
true.
Really,
but really, I think that's evidencing some deeper issues. Because when we look at... And it's a good question you raise up, actually. When we look at the relationship, when we look at the Christian, the biblical roles, nothing is ever imposed by force in that manner. It's always a choice, and that's what, like I was saying to you, it's like, I'll give you my counsel, and that's my counsel, and I'll let you know where I stand. It doesn't mean you're gonna allow you to twist my arm and be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it just because I'm gonna say yes just because you want to. No, it's like, I don't agree, I agree, or you say, okay, I like this dress, I think I want to wear this dress or so. It's like, Do I look nice? I'm gonna be honest. I think you look nice, I think you look. If I don't, I don't. Is it my style? Do I prefer it? Well, maybe that's not something I prefer. That's something I prefer. But at the end of the day, it's down to you whether you choose to wear that dress, buy that dress according to my preferences and my style, or to your preference and your style. And I think when we go to the lower levels, both of the husband and the wife, there are things that are revealed in that discussion that evidence motives.
Okay.
So, and I think, but that will take us to somewhere totally different. Okay. But maybe we should talk about it on the stream. Can a man decide what his wife should wear? Yeah.
And I had one more question. Would you say that we need to really throw away the whole sexism thing, like in marriage? Should that still be something that we're looking at, or should it just be I see you, you see me, there's no sexism, there's no sexist comments and all that kind of stuff, way of thinking in a marriage, or how should that? I'm not following. So obviously, like we've been talking a lot about, we've been using the word gender, but a lot of the times people might be like, oh my gosh, that's so sexist. Like, what makes you clean, you cook, you say. Yeah. So do you think that's like a seed that is, obviously it is a seed that has been sown in our minds by society. Yeah. But then do you still think we should hold on to those things in order to keep us balanced in our positions? You get what I mean?
Those of you who've been hanging in, well done. We appreciate you. So I think like there are a lot of demonic seeds of deceit. And I feel as though that there like divisiveness, division is a proponent of the enemy. So we need to I'll answer it in this way. I think there are two things. We need to always be honest in our relationship. So if someone is saying, like, you asked a great question, you answered me, gave me a great rebuttal earlier, and I was just like, yeah, I just think that you should wash all the dishes and do the cleaning. You're like, okay, but why? Because I saw my mum. Am I your mama? And it's just like, I think that we need to be honest in that level, in that way, and really be able to do the right kind of discovery, have the right kind of discussions, so we can really establish where our motivations are coming from. But fundamental to that level of honesty is, what do we desire as a house? And I started this session with this today. What is the vision of this house? What is the worldview that I believe? What is the worldview that you believe? Where is our common ground? And I think looking at those two things, if we're going to be as abundantly honest as we can, and we're gonna start with a map, some form of a map. Look, I come from this part of the world, you come from this part of the world. These are our similarities, these are our differences. Just off the bat, I think these are some of the areas we're gonna have initial conflict. Do you understand? Your mum was a go-getter, she was this. My mum was an XY, she was this. Those things are automatic conflict because we both see the roles of a woman differently. So I think if we're honest and we start with a map, I think that will aid us in terms of looking at the marriage correctly. So when you talk about sexism, I think I don't think there's any place, honestly, for divisiveness. We should sexism shouldn't be an issue when it comes to marriage. But I guess it really depends. If you've got two real opposing worldviews, then absolutely someone's gonna be like, no, I don't agree with that, because of it could be so many things. That's sexist, that's racist. There's so many ists that we could look at today.
But do you feel like this is causing a problem in marriages today?
Absolutely, 100%. And fundamentally, I think the biggest issue with marriage, is honesty and planning. There's not enough. When I say honesty, I'm talking about having the level of transparency that that is really needed, that love requires. Love requires you to be transparent to a degree that you're soberly honest with each other. It's like you can say the things that are necessary to be said. Next to that, it's just really this planning. I kind of said it in so many different ways, but like, what is the plan? If we can identify a plan, it's like we say we're going to go from here. We decide today we want to go to Japan next week. How do we get there? What the tickets cost? Where do we buy the tickets? How do we travel? What are the current restrictions? What do we need to put in place? Is there provision for children? Are we not, like, all of those things, like, you need to plan that. And then you know what? You will, if you follow your checklist and you structure everything right, you'll end up in Japan. You'll end up there. But if you don't have a clear cut look, even if you don't have like a general plan, a generalist plan, and you're not honest about it, like one of you knows the other person's timekeeping is so bad. Like we know ourselves, innit? So it's like we're traveling, we know who needs to set the alarm in the morning and who needs to be like awake. Maybe there's a little bit of a discussion.
You just need to make sure we got the passport.
But so it's like, so we know our structure and the way things need to be organized. And this is what I'm saying. It's like that level of honesty is required to ensure that you've got all of your, to use a football analogy, all of your players in the right position, the most effective position. There's no point in having your goalkeeper up front shooting because that's not their specialism. That's not their skill set. One
last thing, and you know, I'm so glad I remember this because my friend, she sent me this video, right? About I can't remember what it was, the whole talk, but it was about a woman proposing to her. She was pregnant and she was proposing to her boyfriend. Right? And automatically there was some emotion that came over me. I was like, what is she doing? Like, she shouldn't be the one on bending knees here. She's pregnant. You know, should he not want to make a woman out of her? What is your take now on this gender flip? Because we're talking about gender roles now, and we're getting to that place in society where more and more women are asking for hand in marriage. Like, or is that a topic for another day?
100% topic for another day. Like, I'm happy to give you a word on it. To give you a word on it.
And what do you think as well? Seriously, what do you guys think about that? Should a woman, you know, propose to her boyfriend, or should she not?
If you guys are feeling neglected today, I apologise. You know, sometimes we just kick it off like this.
We're coming.
This was one of those conversations where we were just kind of just in it, man. It's like
this is the last question I'm going to ask you.
You got to be able to talk to your friend. You know what I'm saying? I would say to you on that. What was I thinking just now?
And she doesn't have to be pregnant, by the way. Just a woman proposing to a man.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. My cousin, she told me something. She said to me, I think it was advice from her dad. And she said, her dad said to her, when you're going to marry a man, the man should love you more than you love him. I think that's what she said. And yeah, I have to check. I'll check in with her.
Why is that?
But that was an important. That was important. I think it was her dad that said it. It may have been her mum. I think it was her dad that said it. She said to me, and I think it's important. Like the scripture talks about, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And I think there is something. And this like again, it's good you bring it up in roles. You know, there's something they talk about. You know, man who's the kind of that kind of has that hunter kind of mindset and all those kind of stuff there. I know people don't like that kind of talk there, but the reality is that I feel that says something about the man. Wow, did he say yes?
I don't know.
Okay, so I think
it's a picture.
Okay, I feel that says something about the man for me. It's just like sometimes a man needs a prod, he needs a push, he needs a poke.
He did say yes, actually.
But I don't know that and you again, like this is just really based on our cultural experiences. But I genuinely feel like the man needs to really go, like it's part of that whole leadership thing.
Yeah, but again, if a woman doesn't feel like the man who he keeps saying, yeah, I want to marry you, la 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 la, but he's not stepping up to the plate to ask that question. A woman who is a natural born leader, a woman who's a go-getter, a woman who wants to get in the bag and get that bit sorted, what's wrong with her now saying, look, I know you've been saying, but let me just ask a question. At the end of the day, it's still going to be the roles of he's waiting at the aisle and she's walking up. Do you get what I mean? Like,
listen, I'm not knocking them. It's about their worldview. What do they? What do they want in marriage? And it's like if she's going to be, like maybe that's a picture of her leading the whole marriage. Like you're saying, that's her nature, that's her character. That's what it is. It's like I would advise against that. I'd advise my daughters against that, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
But do you think a man should say yes to a woman who asks him to marry her?
I've got no comment on that.
I need the community on this one, maybe on for another day. I don't even know what to say.
That I can't even put myself in that position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. Fine. Comments. Listen, guys. Put your questions in. Any questions that you may have, any comments that you want to, anything you want to say and share, please feel free to put it in the comment section. And we just want to thank each and every one of you for engaging with us tonight. So,
Evening, Cat Johnson. How you doing?
Zeke has gone fire away right from the top. All right, so share. Osa Kim says, fantastic evening, everyone. Good evening. Osa, we pray you're still with us, sir. Latifa Osafo says, I'm here, bro. Zeke and says, yes, hey.
We appreciate you.
Yes. Right, Ecos Mios. Hi. Ecos Mios says, the women empowerment movement in the 1940s that obviously predates that as men have had to go away since time immemorial. Yeah. That's true. Grace says, society has definitely changed over time and roles should be assigned marriage to marriage. There isn't only one structure that will work for everyone. That's true. That's...
I know we spoke a lot about that. We spoke a lot about having this individual proponent. But
what's the base?
But gravity is gravity.
True.
And like for me, I'm like that's just I would say no more than that.
But I guess also, I'm sure on that point, it's also because this was early on in the conversation where we were discussing about dads that stayed at home.
I know.
So obviously, if that's what works for that marriage, that's what works. Because what works for that marriage might not work for another. So I agree with that one. Ecos Meal says, movies are not the one to look to. Stay-at-home mums are so often depicted as oppressed and cooking, obsessed or affluent, superficial shopaholics. And oh yeah, exactly. Always out shopping, buying things they don't need. Yeah, true.
She said, not to say these stereotypes aren't out there, but hardly the majority.
That's
totally
right.
Totally agree. Go for it.
Okay, Latifah says, definitely has to work according to each family as seasons change and we adapt accordingly. Again, I would say, of course, because imagine, you've got a couple, they're both working and one gets laid off. And, whether the wife or the husband, they're looking. Nothing seems to come. One of them has to take up that responsibility of taking more of the household pressure, isn't it? You wouldn't expect the person that goes to work to come home to then start doing everything again. Even though, funny enough, that's sometimes that responsibility still falls on a woman that way. The husband will go to work, the wife will go to work, but she will still come back and do all the chores. Like, what's that about? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like a man should use the brain God has given him to understand that we're both working here, we're both bringing in the cheddar, so why should I now wait for her to come home to Hoover?
Right.
Listen.
Go to the next one.
Woo! Listen. Anyway, yeah, go on, babe.
Where are my brothers, man?
They're there somewhere.
Tabitha said, God bless this family.
Oh, praises.
Thank you, Tabitha. Appreciate you. Grace says, thank you for joining the stream to Ty Bear. Grace, we're in a day where women especially are more driven to be independent and run businesses and be successful on their own, leading more back away from being stay-at-home mums or wives. Yeah, it's the reality. It's the reality of life.
Yeah, but it's... I wanted to say it's sad because women that are so driven to go out and be go-getters, they have to ask themselves to what end.
Yeah, listen, I know I've had colleagues before and it's like it's work or home for many of them, for some of them I should say, and it's just like to aspire to do the kind of study and training that needs to be done outside of work, XYZ, that's what it takes sometimes. There's a massive pressure that some kind of high stress work can put on your physical person as well. Those kind of things can affect the biology of a female or man in the same way. Like a lot of guys have physical changes and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's true. And even kind of going back to the point Grace was making earlier on about just the society, my thing is just really about not being moved, not being driven by society. I feel that when I said gravity is gravity, it's like God's principles are timeless and they work.
True.
And it's for us to determine what we employ and what we don't employ. Some things have the appearance of benefit, but are not benefiting you on all levels. Like I said, you can go out and have a great career, but like you're saying now, to what cost? Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's important. And I think the point here that Grace is making is a rich one in that, it's true as a snapshot of what's going on in life. That again, the question is, what cost does this impact have on households? And I don't think a woman cannot run a business or businesses and cater to a home. I just think we need to appropriately prioritize. That's all I'm saying.
But you'll get a lot of families that will then say, oh, you know, we do all this for the children have to go swimming, they have to go ballet, they have to go soccer, they have to go this, they have to go that, and they will use the children as an excuse for the reasons why they have to do all these, you know, why both parents have to work, in a sense.
There's a major difference between being provided for in a kind of monetary fiscal sense versus being catered to emotionally and spiritually. And I think that's the true tell. So it's one thing to say, oh, they need all of these extracurricular activities, but aside from the ones that you pay money for, do you read stories at night? Are you engaging them? Are there hugs going on? Do you kiss? Do you talk? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, do you know, like those kind of things are as equally, if not more important than all these other things that we're talking about. And where is this big drive and motivation to have your children involved in all of these clubs, all of these things, because they need this kind of this status? But what is that really saying for them spiritually is my question. Great question, Grace. Or statement. Ecosmos says, for a man to do all the cooking and cleaning, it ain't wrong, but it ain't right. Ecosmos said it there.
It's true, I completely agree.
Yeah, Latifat Safo says, partnership are effective when each person works within their strengths. Is exactly the same in marriage. You see, now that I think that really sums it up in a good way for us to acknowledge. And this is
That's
when
right,
I say when I was like gravity
is gravity,
and it's like this is a wonderful comparison. You say partnership, let's say businesses, then you can translate that to marriage. And it's like the differences aren't that wide. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously there are slight nuances and differences in terms of maybe our interaction, but the core principles, good communication, honesty, integrity, those things are transferable attributes from one to the other. And I think we need to remember that.
Okay, cool.
If couples can't discuss these roles and plan accordingly, they need support to communicate.
That's
I agree.
right.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on. That's so real.
Yeah. Latifah says, praise the Lord. Why not? I think we were discussing something at the time. No reason why you can't do it together. A lot of chefs are men, and some men cook far better than their wives. And that again, that's another, another thing. Some men want to do the cooking because they are the better cook, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know, for me, that's like kudos. Even that's another. Yeah, that's a good one. She may have worked nights. That's true. Regarding the whole cooking and how the household is run. Yeah. If a woman works nights, then, well, obviously, like some women, I know one of my friends, most of her role was nights and then coming back in the morning. Yeah. And she'd have everything prepared, and literally they just got to warm the food up, eat, go to bed. Do you know what I mean? And she's back in the morning, wouldn't even know she wasn't there, kind of thing. So again, it just depends on how women are even organised in doing that.
That's what I'm saying. That reminds me of the Proverbs 31 woman again. Do you know what I'm saying? Her approach was not standard. It wasn't the standard approach. If you can put her next to a number of women today, and it's like they fall short because she had a home focus, but was industrious outside of the home at the same time. Look, and there's so much we can learn from that. Not even just as women, but as men even. Okay. David Wynn, peace and blessings to everyone. So good to have you back, brother.
Welcome
blessings.
Again.
Thank you. Thanks for being here with us today. We've got Grace.
Yes. And then Latifah, again, it's playing on our strengths in our relationship. Women don't always make the best cooks. I am teaching both my daughter and son to clean and cook so that they can look after themselves first.
Okay. And support the family
when they get married. That's right. And that's what that's one thing that I'm trying to emphasize, especially with our children, so that they're not falling into these traps and having these worldly mindsets of what should be and what should not be kind of thing, but being able to be adaptable. Have skills. I mean, people, you know, we educate our children in different areas so that they're knowledgeable in multiple areas, and it should be the same in the home. You know, they should have access to all levels in the house, so that when it's their turn, you know, they can function accordingly. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's key. I think we speak about this all the time. We're talking about relationships, and it's not about two halves coming together and making a whole. It's about two whole people coming together and being complete. And I think that's key. And ensuring, as you've said, as Latif has said, we've heard some people say already, that it's so key in terms of us being able to ensure that we are resourcing our children with the necessary abilities, so that when they do move forward, just like we're seeing here, they are whole. They are ready. It's not like, like we said, you don't need to learn to cook because she'll do the cooking for you. Do you know what I'm saying? Or forget learning a skill. When you get married, your husband, he will go out and work and you will just be at home. Do you know, all you need to focus on is cooking and cleaning.
Yeah, and another thing regarding that, what we have to remember is that a lot of us are not always going to marry someone from the same culture. So imagine if, let's say a Nigerian boy meets a Japanese girl, and he still wants to eat egusi and ogbono and jollof rice. All right. And she's just like, well, honey, I can make, katsu and blah 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 blah. It's not the same, but because he already knows how to do these things, he's like, "Han, come, let me show you how to do it."
And so stereotypical. Girl said katsu, you know. Oh, sorry.
It's your favourite, innit? So he can pass those skills on to his wife. She can pass her skills on to him.
That's right.
And they can have this beautiful relationship
and
going
their children benefit from that.
Exactly, from both sides of their culture coming together. One is not being lost, because again, we tend to find that because a woman is so heavy-handed in the home, and if she's one culture and the man's another culture, the man's culture can actually get sifted out, and it's her culture that's quite heavy in the house. So again, if men don't really want that to be the case, they have to, find ways of really coming together. It's not just speaking the language. It's more than just speaking the language to a child. It's everything else that comes with the culture, So
powerful.
That's another thing we have to consider. So where are we?
Grace says this is true. Ecosmio says, we know who doesn't need to know the real time of takeoff. Yeah, we know what we're talking about. Who needs to know takeoff time and have the alarm set.
Right. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Okay. Latifah says, my son has a greater interest in cooking than my daughter, but my daughter is far more conscious when it comes to cleaning.
Yeah, and you see, the question here. See, even on that, that kind of dials back to what you were saying early on, and the question I was asking you earlier, and it's like, is there really a particular calling? Yeah, a particular weighting that we are deposited with. And it's like, some will say, do you know it's not? It's like, it's equal, X, Y, Z. But, and I'm not saying that the woman should clean, the man should cook. That is not what I'm saying. But it's like, we know some European families where you go to certain restaurants and it's the man who's there who's cooking. Yeah. You go home and he never cooks. Yes, it's his wife who cooks.
That's right.
And I think these are some of the things that we really need to focus on. In those cultures, the man feels as though he needs to go out and earn, so he can be a great cook and a chef.
But
and we heard the comment earlier on, for the earning. But when he comes home, it's a different dynamic. And I think that's a real show of the power of a world view, a cultural view. We can both do it, but we apply it differently in different places. And that's interesting. That's great comment. Thank you so much. David's back. He says, if roles and responsibilities are agreed upon, sexism is not a thing.
True.
There you go. And look, this is the power of having a united view, a plan, and a combined worldview. I think that's so powerful. And he's put it so perfectly there. Like, sexism it's not an issue. It's a non-starter. There is no divisiveness. There is no cause for division, because we are agreeable in terms of our view. But too many people go into relationships having not discussed the hard things early, and then these things crop up later. And it becomes an issue.
100%.
Major challenges with that.
Yes.
David Wynn says, he who finds a wife, those of you who don't know, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So
that's right.
We praise God. I think he was making it in reference to
the woman asking, Yeah,
that's powerful.
Ecosmio says, exactly, at David Wade. Amen, Pastor. That's right. Ecosmeo says, women are out here trying to find a husband, then act surprised 5 years down the line when he finds his wife and leaves her. Ooh, topic for another day.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Ecosmeos. You know, I'm going to just take that. We're going to have to... That's definitely something that has to be discussed.
Yeah.
Because this is a major reality.
I feel this comes under our conversation previously around dating. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? But I think this is key because we can, like you said, we can pull this up and really talk about the motivations, the motivating factors. Because some people are going into the relationship because they want to try before they buy, or they want to have some fun. Where others are searching and looking for the real deal. And the question is, are you giving up something by entering into the dating environment, by opening up and giving all?
Yeah, and I think this also falls down to how long is too long. You understand? How long is too long?
We did that video. Check the playlist. Exactly. Why are you not married yet?
Why are you not married yet?
Yes,
one of the early
videos in the playlist last season.
100% discussed. Thank you, Ecosmios.
That's powerful.
Sammy.
Yeah, Simi Oluwole. Hey, yeah, you know what? Hey, Simi.
Long time, Simi.
It's been ages. I know. Simi says, hey, long time. We've missed you. Glad to see you back on the stream today. Yes. So glad you're here with us.
Latifa says, wise men seek wise counsel. So if your wife is foolish and vice versa.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff. So this is based
regarding
on exactly.
decision making. Yeah, of course.
So I think it's important, and really this is about understanding your spouse, understanding your partner, knowing yourself. Where pride kind of is a motivating factor, we find challenges because men or women, they go full force and be like, yo, I know what I'm doing. This is right, and I'm going to make this decision. But the reality is, are you really evaluating your resourcefulness, your resources appropriately? David said just now, what did he say? He said, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Acknowledging you found a wife, acknowledging she's a good thing, says, you know what, I'll take counsel from her. And vice versa, as Honey said there. So powerful stuff, powerful. Grace is welcoming Simi. Simi says, hey, Grace. And Honey says, I think discussing whatever it is and coming to an agreement is important. Otherwise, one partner can become resentful. Like 100%. This is one of the biggest pains in marriage.
Yes, exactly.
And we maybe need to do a stream on
that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, you go.
No, and I feel like that's why I was asking about the whole decision thing, because sometimes, you know, depends on how a husband and wife are really discussing how they make their decisions. Yeah. One can, you know, get to that place where it's kind of like, well, I'm not really needed here, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
You just, you know, decide whatever you want and I'll just go with the flow kind of thing. But deep down inside, they're hurting and it's causing them to sort of tap out emotionally. And you know, a marriage, you always want to keep yourself joined together at all times, you know, and that's why I think it's so important that, like you were saying, that even though the buck falls on the husband, it's still important for the husband to listen to what his wife is saying, because even if her idea is even better, him saying, okay, I think we'll go with that, is him still making the final decision. Yeah,
of course. And empowering her and encouraging her that she's valuable, supporting her. It enriches his decision-making process, knowing that he's got a resource there, wife that is wise, that can support him, those kind of things. Yeah, that's rich.
It's not a battle, do you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes people kind of like, oh, why is it not what I've said that we're going to do? It's not always, do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be like that, to be fair.
Real talk. Coming, guys. Ecosmeo says, yeah, the career goals I had of working at a certain company and attaining things like partner, etc. by a certain age would have not allowed me to see my family or fulfill certain roles at all. Yeah, and look, listen, I made a point earlier on about people forsaking destinies. This is what I mean. It's like, because we're so, and that's, you know, thank you so much for that point, Ecosmeo. That's rich. Thank you for sharing. Like, we have people who are so focused on what the world presents, what the screen presents, and I have to emphasize this. I'm not saying don't get a job, because some of us, for some of you, that partner position is important. Yeah. But for others, that's not what you're required to be going after. And this is why prayer is key. This is why being close to God, reading the scriptures for yourself, developing in the things of God are so important, because it helps you to be able to navigate in decisions like these.
And even a lot of the times, women that have these skills and this and the ability to attain high, they might might think because they have the skills, it's for a job. It's for them to utilize those skills in a job. That's when actually that gift has been given to you for you to utilize in your home, to train up your family in the way that they should go. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is, and it's a powerful point that Ikos Mios makes here, because, you know, people that have ambition and have this drive, we can actually use that for the betterment of those that are coming underneath us. It's not always to make money. It's not always to get a paycheck. And I think sometimes that's what we really have to remember and understand. Like, some people are just naturally loving and nurturing you at work, and everyone brings their problems to you. You know, why is that? Because people feel drawn to you and people come to you, and that love and that kind of, that energy that you're taking, that you have at work, that should also be at home, and your children should be able to, and your husband should be able to feed on all those things as well. Where some people work, that's work, then home, there's no energy left, there's no, you've cancelled everyone at work. So now when your husband's facing an issue, you're even too tired to even hear what he's got to say because you've used all your energy outside. And that's not what, that's not what we should be doing. They should be able to balance things out, guys. I think we've got 2 more. Ikos Mio says yes. At Latifah, discussing these things pre-marriage is very important.
You jumped over something.
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah, I did.
That's what you just read. That one. I should read it. Sorry. Yeah. So do you think the biblical marriage roles conflict with our ideas of sexism and equality today, or can they be reconciled? That's a great point, and I think that I think it's either or. To be fair, I'll be straight with you. I think it's either or. I think that when we started when we started the stream today, I was saying that basically these are socially defined constructs, and I don't think we should be focusing on trying to shoehorn our God-given biblical perspectives into that kind of hole that the world presents to us. I don't think that's necessary. I genuinely believe that we are to stand confidently, boldly on what we believe is our view. And this is the reason why, people will always have a name or a view or a label is the word I'm looking for what you believe and for what you select as your way of life. And those labels change, they shift, the kind of the connotations to those are constantly morphing, and I feel as though we need to stand strong on our own perspective. So there can be potentially some form of reconciliation, but I would not drive anybody to be trying to do that. I'm saying to you guys, look, at the end of the day, my perspective is, look, work with integrity, be honest, be genuine, be transparent in your relationship, and work those things out. David made a good point earlier on. He said where there's agreement, sexism isn't an issue, and I think that's what it is. It's really about the union being clear on what their relationship is based on, the worldview. I keep harping on about that today. So for us, it would be the biblical standard, and then marching forward in agreement. And what society's got to say, what your neighbours across the road have got to say, that's their business. That's their business for them, and we need to be a light and demonstrate the light and love of Christ for our relationships. I think we've got one more comment here. Ecosmio says, that's what leads to disappointment and unfulfillment in marriage, which is one of the main reasons of divorce. But people are busy discussing honeymoon and how many children they want. Yeah, I think it's a key point for us to focus on, and we've used the phrase a lot of times today, agreement. Like, there needs to be an agreement, and this is why, the scripture talks about, let's talk about scripture for a minute. It talks about not being unequally yoked, and when you really think about that, and the image that we see there really is the yoking of these kind of oxen, and you've got one who's kind of an older, well-experienced oxen who's yoked with this kind of younger oxen, and there's this training being done there where the one who's experienced teaches the other the pace of the standard, basically. And I think one of the problems that we have today is people are coming together and they're not willing to conform. They're not willing to, and when I say conform, I'm talking about to the biblical standard. And I think this is important. If two people are going to get in a relationship, they must agree early on the standard that they're going to live by. Definitely. And it's like, okay, our hope is to attain the high standard of the calling. Or, they just say, it's just, they're carnal Christians. This is the kind of stuff we do socially. This is, we have the label of Christian. This is what we want to live. Whether hot, cold, lukewarm, people need to be in agreement where they are, honest about where they are, and progress from that position. I think that honesty bodes for a healthy rate of progression in their relationship. That it might be poor progression or like real kind of great what's the word I'm looking for? Exponential growth. But the reality is if you're honest, if you've got some kind of structure, some kind of plan, you can work together and you can develop and grow. Have we got any more questions there?
Definitely. No, we do not. Good. Yes.
Listen, guys, I know it's been a bit of a convo today. Myself and Sis got carried away just talking to each other as we do. So grateful for all of you that are still here right now. If you haven't subscribed, do hit that button over there. Subscribe to the channel. This playlist specifically here is all about helping you, those aspiring to marry, those who are married right now, to strengthen and empower and enrich marriages the way God wants them. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah, we want to thank all of you for joining us, taking the time out of your wonderful Sunday to join us on this stream. And from myself and Ezekiel.
Yes. We'll be back real soon.
We'll be back
Shalom.
Soon.
Have a great night, okay?
Good night, guys.
Bye,
Love
guys.
y'all. Don't forget to boogie.